Hey everybody, this is Peter here at H M Realty. So I wanted to discuss a little bit, a lot of people have asked me like, okay, hey, when's the next recession? When is something gonna happen with the real estate market where it's gonna crash? And especially with forbearance on the table, and a lot of people, at least at the middle of the year and also the first quarter, the tail end of the first quarter, a lot of people were holding back, thinking that we were gonna have, a huge downturn in the real estate market. And that's not really the case. And really, when you look back over the past 10 to 15 years, going up to the last crash, a lot of people had a lot less equity in their homes. And now, if you look at what people have equity-wise in their home, it's a lot more significant. So about 68 to 72% of people have about 40% or more equity in their home, which is great. Comparatively to what we were going into the crash of '08, there was about, I don't know the statistics on that, but there was a lot less equity that people had because people were either buying homes that were 100% financing, or they were buying homes with 3.5% down, and then they would take a second out on their home right away or after a short time. So they really didn't have the equity. So once the market bottomed out, or at least started going down, they didn't have any extra money on the side to take that money and be able to pay the mortgage. So that was an issue, right? And it's not an issue right now because there's a lot more equity in the homes, which is great news, especially for people that are looking to, obviously sell their home or keep their home, especially if there's another downturn or anything like that. So that's where a lot of people have talked about like, oh, hey, is there gonna be another crash, or are we gonna have some type of huge market downturn in real estate? And that's not the case, because we really have the fundamentals versus 10, 12 years ago. We didn't have those fundamentals set in place. A lot of people were doing certain things where they were going out buying toys. When I say toys, I'm talking about boats, jet skis, or anything else, extra cars, and not saving that money within their house, or they were taking out seconds on their house to buy those things, and they weren't keeping that equity in the home, which is a scary thought, right? Because you have that, you have kind of that situation where as you go into like this pandemic and you go into forbearance, if we had that certain situation then, we would have a lot more next year foreclosures. Another good statistic is there's about 40%, a little bit shy of 40% of homeowners have about 100% of equity in their home. So those homes are paid off, which is great news, right? So if that's the case, you have people in reality where they don't have any mortgage at all. So that they don't have a mortgage, they don't have to worry about that, so they're not paying any debt servicer to collect that mortgage. And even if there was a downturn and they lost their job because of the pandemic or anything else, they wouldn't have to pay that money back. So those two facts are great in the reality of the housing market and also the economy, because if people aren't making that payment or don't have to make that payment, or even if they are making that payment, they have a lot of room on equity, then we're not going to see that huge downturn or the huge issue with people trying to make that payment, because they have that equity and that they can actually use if they need to, or they don't have any equity. They don't even need to worry about equity because it's already paid off. So those are things that affect the market, and they affect it in a bad way if we're losing our jobs. But we're not going to see that. I know a lot of people have asked like, hey, do you see a crash after this and everything else? Well, those numbers really show that we have a solid foundation for the housing market and also the economy per housing leading into 2021 and years after. So thanks for watching. If you have any comments, leave them below on the YouTube channel. Thanks.